Before we get into it, if you enjoy these kinds of true-style, first-person horror stories, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you want more stories like this, and comment below if you've ever experienced something you couldn't explain, something that didn't quite feel normal. I read every comment. Now, let's continue. I still don't know how to explain this in a clean way, so I'm just going to describe it the way I remember it. This happened on a solo hike near northern Wisconsin. Nothing extreme, just a marked trail in a forested area I had been told was easy and well-maintained. I started late morning. Weather was clear, cool air, light wind through the trees. The kind of day where nothing feels like it could go wrong. The trailhead had a sign, simple wooden marker, distance, difficulty, basic warnings. Everything looked normal. I remember checking my phone map before going in. Signal was weak, but the trail showed a single loop. No branches, no intersections. Just a circle back to the parking lot. That should have been the end of it. I reversed. Everything matched the map. Wide path, clear markers, no confusion. I even remember thinking it was unusually well maintained for how remote it felt. But about 40 minutes in, I noticed the first inconsistency. The trail marker ahead had a number I didn't remember seeing before. Not broken, not faded, just new. Like it hadn't been there when I passed earlier. I stopped walking, looked back. The marker behind me was also slightly different. Same shape, same placement, but the numbering didn't match what I had passed 10 minutes earlier. I checked my phone again. No signal, which wasn't unusual. But the map now only showed my location as a moving dot on a blank green area. No trail lines anymore. Just me. I told myself it was just GPS lag. That happens in forests. So I kept going. About another 20 minutes in, the trail forked. That was the first real problem. Because the map clearly showed no fork. Just the loop. I stood there for a moment longer than I should have. Left path, right path. No markings indicating direction. I chose left. Not for any reason, just instinct. The deeper I went, the quieter it got. Not immediately, gradually. Like sound was being removed instead of fading. No birds, no insects. Even footsteps started sounding softer. I stopped again. Not because I was scared, just because I realized I hadn't heard anything alive for a while. That's when I noticed something behind me. Not movement, just awareness. The feeling that if I turned around too fast, I wouldn't see anything. But I would confirm something was there anyway. I didn't turn. I just kept standing still, listening. Eventually, I continued walking. But the trail didn't feel like it was progressing normally anymore. Trees started repeating patterns. Not identical, just similar enough that I couldn't tell if I had seen them before. At one point, I saw a trail marker I was certain I had already passed earlier. Same scratch on the wood, same tilt, same position relative to the path. That's when I checked my phone again. Still no signal, but the battery had dropped faster than expected. Almost 20% in a short span I couldn't account for. I stopped again, this time longer. Trying to orient myself logically. Left path,
right path, markers, trees. None of it lined up cleanly anymore. And then I heard something. Not a branch breaking, not footsteps, just the sound of something shifting distance behind me. Like the forest had adjusted its spacing. I didn't run. That part matters. I just started walking faster. Not panicked, just decisively. Eventually, I reached a clearing I didn't recognize. No signage, no marker, just open ground. And my first thought wasn't fear. It was, this isn't on the map. Because it wasn't just missing. It felt like it had never been included at all. I stood there for a while, trying to decide if I had looped incorrectly, or missed the turn, or misread something earlier. But nothing explained the fork that didn't exist, or the markers that didn't match, or the silence that kept growing. I eventually turned back the way I came, carefully, slower now, watching every detail. When I finally found the trailhead again, it looked slightly different. Not dramatically, just enough that I hesitated before recognizing it. Same sign, same parking area, but the angle of the trees behind it felt shifted, like I had returned to a slightly updated version of where I started. I didn't go back in. I just got in my car and left. And what I still can't explain is this. The map on my phone updated later that day, and it showed a second loop, one I never saw when I entered. No explanation. No trail update notice. Nothing in public records I could find later. Just a path that appeared after I came back. And I still don't know if I missed something obvious, or if I was walking through something that only made sense while I was inside it.
I don't really know how to categorize this, so I'm just going to describe it the way it happened. This was in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Work trip, one-night stay. Nothing unusual about it. The hotel was near the riverfront district. Older area, rebuilt over time. Nothing stood out on paper. Room 417, 4th floor. Everything looked normal when I walked in, but it didn't feel freshly reset. The AC was already running, the curtains were slightly open, and the TV was on low volume. A news channel I didn't recognize. I remember pausing, but not long enough to question it. I told myself housekeeping just missed a few things. That's usually what you do. You explain it away before it becomes something else. I left for food. Came back around 9:30 p.m. The hallway felt slightly off. Not visually at first, more like spacing. Like the distance between doors didn't match what I remembered. I actually stopped and checked the floor number. Still 4. That should have been enough, but it wasn't. Room AC was off. I remember leaving it on. Not vaguely, specifically on. The low-volume news channel is still playing. The remote was still on the nightstand. Nothing had moved. Nothing looked disturbed. I told myself it was an auto shutoff, even though I didn't fully believe that while saying it. I went back out briefly, got water, came back, took a shower. Normal routine. Nothing strange yet that I could prove. That's when the smell started. Damp wood, then something metallic underneath it. I checked everything. Vent, sink,
drain. Nothing. What made it worse was that it didn't stay consistent. It would disappear when I focused on it, then return when I stopped trying to locate it. That's when I stopped trusting how it was behaving. Not because it was strong, because it wasn't stable. I left the bathroom light on, went to bed. I don't remember falling asleep clearly, just the transition. Then I woke up, half awake, not fully alert, not fully asleep. The room was dark, except for the bathroom light. And the first thought I had wasn't visual. It was awareness that something else was already in the room. Not something I saw, something I felt occupying the space. Like the room had an extra layer to it. I didn't move. I remember counting seconds, without meaning to. Then I heard the hallway. Not footsteps. A pause. Like someone had stopped right outside the door, deciding whether to knock. No knock came. Just silence. Then the light under the door changed. Not fully blocked, not fully gone, just interrupted. Like something passed in front of it for less than a second. I got up after that, looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. But the carpet outside didn't match what I remembered earlier that night. Not dramatically, just enough that I had to stare longer than I should have. I didn't sleep much after that. Just stayed awake, listening, waiting for something to repeat. But nothing did. Morning came normally. No signs, no disturbances. Everything reset itself perfectly. At checkout, I asked casually if there were any issues on the 4th floor. The clerk said no, then paused, checked the screen again, and asked what room I had been in. When I said 417, she paused longer than normal, then confirmed it, like she was verifying something twice. Weeks later, someone mentioned the building had been rebuilt over older internal layouts. Nothing supernatural, just structural history. I didn't ask more, because what stayed with me wasn't the experience itself. It was how nothing stayed consistent long enough to confirm it happened the way I remember. The TV, the smell, the hallway spacing, the light interruption. Even the receptionist paused. None of it escalated. None of it confirmed itself. It just existed briefly, then stopped existing in a way I could prove. And that's what I can't fully resolve. Not what happened, but how easily everything returned to normal afterward.
I worked overnight security for almost 3 years, and if there's one thing I learned about empty buildings, it's that they are never really empty. Not in the way people think. I'm not talking about ghosts. I'm talking about the little things. A door you swear you locked. A light that turns on when nobody is there. A sound you hear, but can't find. The building was an older office and medical complex in Wisconsin. It wasn't abandoned. It wasn't some creepy, broken down place. People worked there during the day. Doctors, staff, maintenance, normal people. But at night, everything changed. My job was simple. Walk the floors, check emergency exits, watch cameras, write down anything unusual. The first few weeks were completely normal. Honestly, boring, which is exactly what you want from security. Until I started noticing one thing. The elevator. Every night around 2:13 a.m., the elevator would activate. At first, I ignored it. Old buildings make noises. That's what everyone says. But then I checked the camera. The elevator wasn't moving randomly. It was going somewhere. The problem was, the floor number didn't exist. The display would show B, but the building only had 6 floors. I am on ground floor and there is no floor below, I think. I reported it. The maintenance guy laughed. He told me the elevator system was old. Sometimes it glitches. I believed him, because honestly, that made more sense. Then one night, I decided to check. I took the elevator, pressed the button B, went down. The elevator stopped. The display said B. The doors opened. There was a hallway. That was the first thing that bothered me. Not because it was scary, because it looked normal. Old carpet, old lights, old office doors. It looked like a part of the building that had been forgotten. Not haunted, forgotten. I stepped out, just a few feet. At the end of the hallway was a security desk, an old one, the kind with a computer monitor, paper logs, and a chair. And sitting on the desk was a notebook, a security log. I opened it. The first pages were old. Names, times, routine notes. Then I saw something that made me stop. My name, written in the log. Not today, not yesterday, a date from years earlier. I stared at it for a long time, trying to find a logical explanation. Maybe someone had the same name. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone was messing with me. Those were the explanations I wanted. But then I noticed something else. The handwriting. It was mine. I left. Immediately. I didn't run. I didn't panic. I just went back into the elevator. When I reached the first floor, I checked the security cameras. I was in the elevator the whole time. The elevator footage showed me entering, but not exiting. I didn't tell anyone the next day. I knew how it sounded. A security guard saying he found a hidden floor with his own handwriting? Nobody would take that seriously. But I started researching the building. That's when I found something. Before the current building existed, there was another structure on the same property, a smaller medical facility. It had a night security guard, a man who disappeared during his shift. No crime, no explanation. The only thing found was his final security report. The last sentence said, "The building is still occupied after closing." I quit 2 weeks later. I never went back. A few months after that, I drove past the building. There was construction happening. The entire structure was being demolished. I thought that was the end of it, until I saw something. A single light on the bottom floor. I checked the building. There was no floor anymore. The building was already half gone, but that light was still on. Key C, 5 seconds. I still don't know what happened that night. Maybe it was a system error. Maybe old building records got mixed up. Maybe someone was playing a very strange prank. Those explanations make sense. But I always come back to one question. Why did the building have a record of me before I ever worked there? And sometimes, when I walk past older buildings now, I don't look at the windows. I look at the floors. Because some places don't forget who has been inside. Before we end tonight, I decided you all deserved one more story. A little bonus story. This one wasn't planned. It wasn't something I originally intended to include, but sometimes the stories that stay with you the longest are the ones you almost never tell. So for this final one, settle in and listen closely. Title: The Voice from the Empty House. Before I tell this one, I want to say something. I don't consider myself someone who looks for strange things. I'm not the type of person who walks into an old place and immediately thinks something supernatural is happening. Most of the time, there is a normal explanation, a sound, a shadow, a mistake. And honestly, that's what I tried to tell myself with this one. This happened in Wisconsin a few years ago. I was helping my uncle clean out an older family house before it was sold. The house had been in the family for a long time. Not famous, not historic. Just one of those older homes that quietly exists in a neighborhood for decades. The kind of house where you can tell people grew up there. Not because it's special, but because of the little things. The scratches on the doorway from measuring children's height. Old nails in the walls where pictures used to hang. Furniture that looked like it had been moved 100 times. The previous owner had already moved out. The house wasn't abandoned. It wasn't damaged. It was just waiting for someone new. I arrived around 6 p.m. My uncle was already there. He was outside dealing with the garage and some boxes. I went inside and started with the upstairs rooms. The first hour was completely normal. I packed old clothes, sorted papers, looked through things people leave behind when they think they'll come back later, but never do. And that's something about old houses. They hold a lot of unfinished moments. A birthday card never given away, a photo album left behind, a jacket still hanging in a closet. Around 7:30 p.m., I was upstairs when I heard my name. Not a shout, not a whisper, just someone casually calling from downstairs. "Hey!" I immediately thought it was my uncle. The voice sounded normal. That's why I answered. "Yeah?" "Nothing." I waited. Then I called again. "Did you say something?" Still nothing. I walked downstairs. The kitchen was empty. Living room empty. Front door locked. I checked outside. My uncle's truck was gone. I figured he must have stepped out. Maybe he tried calling me from outside and I misunderstood where the sound came from. I didn't think much about it until my phone rang. It was my uncle. I answered. "Hey, where are you?" I said. "I'm inside the house." There was a pause. Then he said, "I'm not back yet." I remember looking around the room, not scared, just confused, because my brain immediately started searching for an explanation. Maybe it was a neighbor, maybe someone outside, maybe the house carried sound weirdly. Older houses do strange things. That's what I told myself. I went back upstairs, and for the next hour, nothing happened, which almost made me forget about it. Until later. SFX, clock ticking faintly. It was close to 9 p.m. The sun was already down. The house was completely quiet. I was in the hallway upstairs organizing boxes. Then I heard footsteps. Not downstairs. Not outside. Upstairs. At first I thought it was me. Maybe my own movement. Maybe the floor shifting. But then I realized something. The footsteps were coming from the other end of the hallway, and I was standing still. One step, then another. Slow. Like someone walking normally. Not rushing. Not trying to scare me. That's what bothered me. It sounded comfortable, like whoever was walking there had walked that hallway many times before. I didn't move. I just listened. Then the footsteps stopped, and a voice said, "Don't forget the picture." I can't explain why that sentence affected me the way it did. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't creepy. It sounded like someone reminding a family member about something before leaving the house. Like a normal conversation. That made it worse. Because it didn't feel like something trying to scare me. It felt like something that didn't realize it shouldn't be there. I walked toward the bedroom at the end of the hallway. The door was open. Inside was an old dresser. And sitting on top was a picture frame. I knew that dresser was empty earlier. I had moved things off it. But there it was. A family photo. I picked it up. It showed the people who had lived there years ago. I turned it over. On the back was handwriting, a date, and a note. "Keep this where everyone can see it." I didn't know what to think. I called my uncle. When he answered, I asked him about the picture. There was another pause. Then he asked, "Where did you find that?" I told him. He got quiet. Then he said, "That picture disappeared years ago." I asked him what he meant. He explained that it was one of the things the family had been looking for. They thought it was lost during a move. Nobody knew it was still in the house. When my uncle arrived back, we checked the room. Nothing else was moved. Nothing else was different. The picture was the only thing that didn't make sense. We finished cleaning the house the next day. I never heard the voice again. I never saw anything. No shadow. No figure. No obvious sign that something was there. And maybe that's why it stayed with me. Because if I had seen something impossible, maybe I could accept it easier. But hearing a familiar voice, asking me to remember something, and then finding exactly what it mentioned, that's harder to explain. The house was sold a few months later. I drove past it once. New curtains, new car in the driveway, someone else living there. Everything looked normal. But sometimes I wonder if the new owners ever hear anything. Not footsteps, not voices, just little reminders, a door closing, a picture falling, a feeling that something was left unfinished. Because maybe some places don't hold on to people. Maybe they hold on to moments. And maybe when the right person walks in, those moments remember how to speak. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay curious. And remember, some stories are not about what appears. Sometimes they are about what refuses to leave. If you enjoyed this episode, consider leaving a thumbs up. It helps more people discover these stories. Subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more unexplained encounters, strange experiences, and stories that are difficult to explain. If you have someone who enjoys this type of content, share this episode with them. Every share helps this channel grow and allows more people to find these stories. And as always, leave a comment. Share your thoughts, your experiences, or anything you've encountered that you still can't fully explain. I read through the comments, and sometimes the stories you share are just as interesting as the ones I tell. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay curious. And remember, some stories are easier to explain than others.